All right, welcome everybody to today's episode of our Founders Series podcast. And our guest today, as you heard in the intro, is Eric Konovalov. Eric, how are you doing, sir?
Doing great, Zach. Hey, Chris, how are you guys doing?
Doing amazing.
Doing
Awesome.
great. Did I pronounce that right?
Yeah, be
Awesome.
great.
Well, the little brackets on LinkedIn there are great help because I would have screwed
That's
that up
key.
for sure.
I think I'd screw it up. It's all good.
So there's a ton of stuff that I want to go over with you. There's a lot of questions that I have. But first, I read a bit about your story going through your LinkedIn bio, and I think that we can't go by. So can you, in a few minutes, just tell us about your story? How did you end up to where you are today? And how did that whole journey? Because usually we try to use this podcast to try to inspire people in their journey. So I'm curious to see, how did you end up with your own podcast, your own business, writing a book? Yeah.
Oh man, that's a lot, dude. All right, where should I start? So I was born in former USSR, man. Back in so I grew up communist mentality. My first 10 years of life were in former Russia. Well, in former USSR, which is the former Soviet Union, now Russia. Parents moved here. I was 10 years old. And that gave me kind of the appreciation for the United States, the freedoms that it offered us. So when I graduated from high school, I grew up in Baltimore from 10 till about 17, 18. I joined the Marine Corps. I was a knucklehead in school. Never, college wasn't for me. It's not for everybody. But I knew I wanted to do something. And I thought about joining the military, join the Marines. That really opened up my world. I got a chance to travel. Some were good places, some were not so good places, but I've been to many countries with the military, done quite a bit of things that opened up my kind of world view. And then after 8 years, I got out and I went to my commanding officer. I was a part of a small unit at that point. I said, "Hey, sir, been here since high school. Like, I don't know what to do when I get out. What am I supposed to do as a civilian,
Mhm.
He said, "Well, with all the bullshit you sold me, you should probably get into sales." Like, I don't know what sales is, but I'm going to go try it out. And so I was leaving the military, put out my, back then it was monster.com. It's kind of like your Indeed today.
Yeah.
Put out my resume, and every freaking AFLAC agency called me up. And I got to tell you guys, never being in sales and in the military, you get paid on the 1st and 15th of every month.
God.
So, it's pretty safe. Even though the military is dangerous, your income is very secure. You always have health care. There's always food, and you're always going to get paid, even though it's not a lot of money. So coming out with the idea of commission only was just not, I couldn't even picture that.
Mm-hmm.
So I got a job selling copiers in Baltimore, and that was salary, commission, and I ended up doing really well. I went on to become sold medical devices, sold outsourcing services, became a sales manager at Xerox, and then so this is a span of about 14 years that I'm talking to you guys, and then I became a director of sales for a tech company. No, this is 8 years after getting out. And when I took over that team, they were all older than me. They sold more than I did. It was a company that had a very strong family team. Everybody knew each other from church. I didn't even go to church. And so every time I had an idea, they would go to the president and be like, "Why do we need this guy here? Can you get him out of here? We don't." And I realized that I sucked as a leader. I couldn't lead
Okay.
to save my life. So I joined the John Maxwell team to learn how to be a good leader. And as I started implementing the things I was learning, our team started gelling way better. And by that, I mean, like, they started inviting me to company barbecues on Saturday. Our revenue started going up. Like, I was involved in meetings and client appointments. And we really grew that company in like 3 years. So the other part of the John Maxwell team is they teach you how to start your own coaching and training business. So they certify you as a leadership trainer and coach. They teach you how to do all that stuff. So I had all this knowledge. I'm surrounded by a bunch of people who are doing it. And I had proven success with this company. I decided to go out on my own and started my own company, The Goal Guide. And when I started it, it was all about leadership training. Then I wrote my book, B2B Sales Secrets, just because I realized that a lot of companies aren't doing the right things when it comes to sales in the B2B space. Literally put our whole process of how we grew into this book. And then turned it into executive coaching. Now I have a group coaching with my Relentless Goal Achievers elite group, podcasting. Like, everything's just an evolution. How
So
was that for an answer? Did I
I
answer
love
your
it.
question, Zach? Good.
that's amazing. That's amazing. There's a lot of points I want to touch on, but one that you
Yeah.
just mentioned is leadership and training people around sales and all that. But right now, you see it all the time. There's all these, well, we see it in our industry, finance, these finance gurus, these business gurus, these entrepreneurs online who, when you go actually do look at it, it's just some bull that's very well packaged. So I'm sure you've seen a lot with your training and with the type of training sessions that you do with your clients. How could people listening to us kind of cut through the bull and really get real value from what they find on internet? Because there is some real value out there, but it's hard to decipher what's just someone trying to make a quick buck, trying to go viral, versus someone who's actually learned this stuff and who's actually there to give true value to people.
Yeah. Have you ever read the book called Think and Grow Rich?
Napoleon
Yes,
Hill.
sir.
Yes, sir.
Right here. So it says, like, on top of my copy, it says over 15 million copies sold.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I guarantee you there were not 15 million millionaires made. Like 15 million people who bought that book did not all become millionaires. There are people that go to a Tony Robbins event and they'll spend 72 hours with Tony, and then 10% of those will walk away and get something out of it. The reason why I'm saying this to you is because you can listen to a fake guru, you can listen to a real guru, and no one's gonna know the difference in who's real, who's fake. What's gonna make the difference is what you heard and what you took action on. Because even the dumbest guy can give you the best idea, and even the brightest guy can give you the worst idea. And so it's not always about the person, although you should listen. I'm not saying go out and listen to everyone. I'm saying that if you at some point tuned into somebody online, consider that as there's a reason for why that person came into your life at that point. And then just, what can I take away from it? What if you get one good idea? To me, it's worth it.
So you mentioned about, I like how you say that, like, kind of life made it so that you fall on this content, and there was a reason behind it. I'm curious because earlier you mentioned you're not someone who goes to church, but that to me sounds like someone who has faith in just life happens for a reason. So what is your relationship with, I guess you could call it destiny, or everything happening for a reason? What are your thoughts on that?
Are you asking me what my relationship with God is?
If you have one, if not, how do you see kind of
Yeah, I
destiny, or
separate.
do you believe things are meant to be?
No, I believe we're creators. I believe we have a direct connection to our creator. I believe that I don't need a church. This is just my personal view. I'm not saying
Yeah.
Mhm.
I'm right, I'm wrong. It's just personal view.
That's what we want to hear.
I don't like religion. I think religion is man-made. I think that there's a part of God in all of us, and we have that connection. Like, we are spiritual beings. We're gifted with an intellect, and we're living in a physical body.
Mm-hmm.
And so what does it mean to be a spiritual being? Like, we've heard Bob Proctor say this. I didn't create this, right? Bob Proctor used to go around teaching this. But no, how many people actually try to figure out what does it mean to be a spiritual being? Not a lot. Well, I did. And you can look at the Bible, Galatians 22:23, and it'll say that the fruit of the Spirit, which means, like, hey, if I'm a spiritual being, that means that I'm the fruit of the Spirit. I'm one with the Spirit. And the fruit of the Spirit is love and joy and forbearance and whatever else. I don't know by heart, but somewhere along those lines. So naturally, in my natural state, when I'm connected to my source, I'm being love. And that's how I want to show up in the world, right? So that's my belief.
No,
That's
I
deep,
love it.
Eric. I like
I
it.
love it
Yeah.
because you're kind of saying that I don't need to follow a certain set of rules to be a good human. So I love that. And one thing, two words that I feel like you mentioned a few times is that you like to help people live freely and fully. I'd like to know, kind of let you unwrap that. What does that mean for people to live freely and fully?
Yeah, man. There are a lot of people in America. Are you guys in America, by the way?
We're
We're
in
in
Canada.
Canada,
You're
but
in
I want
Canada.
to add, I did live in Colorado. My dad's actually military, Canadian Air Force, so we're posted on Colorado Springs. Thank you for your service, by the way.
Yeah, thank you for your
So,
father's service.
thank you. No, it's a beautiful country, though. I love America.
So in America, there are millions of people every single day who sit in traffic while they go to a job that they hate, hoping that they don't get fired that day. That's not free. So what I say, I like helping people live free. What I mean by that is I help them free themselves here to let them really understand that they have the power to create any life that they want. And I truly, truly believe that 100%. Any life that they want. Most people don't know what they want.
Mhm.
If you ask people, like, what do you want? Like, let's say everything went exactly how you wanted it to go for the next 3 years. Me and you're talking 36 months from today, looking back at your life. One, what does your life look like? And two, what had to have happened for you to get there?
Mm.
They would just look at me like I'm crazy.
Mhm. Mhm.
But all of us have the ability to create. Like, before any house is built, what needs to happen?
An idea, a concept,
That's one. Yeah. And then what?
a plan,
A blueprint.
a blueprint.
Right? Yeah. So you get an idea, you go get some engineers, you tell the engineers of your idea, they create a blueprint or a design, right? And they show it to you. Is this what you wanted? So first here, that idea comes to you. You didn't create the idea, right? Like everything is energy, and energy is always flowing from a higher source to a lower source. That's just natural laws.
Mm-hmm.
And so if ideas and thoughts are energy, which they are, like people can plug some stuff up to your head and see you thinking and seeing waves going. Ideas are energy. And if an idea comes from a higher source to a lower source, that means you either your awareness was heightened, so you became in tune to that idea, or that idea came to you from a higher source. Your job now is to either accept or reject the idea. Most of us choose to reject ideas based on our current circumstances. We take a look at our life and we're like, oh, well, based on where I am now, I could never buy a house. I could never build a house. I could never move to the beach. I could never grow a business. I could never start a business. And we abort the idea. Poof, gone. We have the other choice of feeding that idea, giving it energy, giving it thought, putting it out on paper. I write a lot.
Mm.
Yeah.
These are ideas. We have the ability to create our future before it ever comes to fruition and to reality. As a matter of fact, nothing in this world can ever become real until we have a blueprint for it. A thought had to have happened and action had to be taken. This Riverside FM we're recording on was
Mhm.
somebody's idea. The microphones we're using, the headphones you got on, Chris, somebody's idea
Exactly.
with a little bit of focused energy.
Eric, I want to ask a little follow up on that. I mean, it sounds a bit like, it's lifestyle planning. You're looking at it. Does your life right now, where you're at right now, looking back, reflect the things that you had put out there that you wanted to achieve where you're at? Does it reflect a bit? Does it reflect exactly? Have you always known you wanted to do this? Talk to me a bit about that. That's what I'm curious to know.
Yeah, man. So that's a great question. About 5 years ago, I was living in Maryland, and
Okay.
I had this dream to live in Florida. So I started writing about it. and I designed the house in my head and I wrote about it. And I have a motorcycle that I love riding. And I thought, in Maryland, the beach is on the East Coast. So I was thinking, like in my vision, I get up early. I get up very early, around 3:15 in the morning, and I start working out around 5 a.m. So I was thinking, like, I would ride my motorcycle to the beach, watch the sunrise. Like, some days I have my kid on the back with me. Just that's what I was picturing. Here I am 5 years later. I've already been here for 3 years. I'm now in Florida. I live 30 minutes from the beach. The house is exactly the house that I had described and thought about.
Got goosebumps.
The only place I messed up is that we actually moved to the west coast of Florida. So you get a really amazing sunset here, but you don't get the sunrise here, which is like, I always had this dream, like, oh, I'm just going to ride to the beach. Well, now the beach that I'm riding, if I wanted sunrise, I'd have to ride east for 3 hours. But yeah, I'm 25 minutes from the beach. My kids absolutely love it here. We live in a gated community, one of those HOA things that has an amenity center, pickleball courts, tennis courts, a pool. My house has a pool. Like, it's exactly how I described it. And here's the kicker. We moved here during COVID. And so a bunch of things had to have happened. So first, my wife and I got the idea. I dreamt about moving to Florida, got her to agree. She's like, great, let's do it. We sold our house and started renting a place while we were searching for places here. The goal was to move. So we drove down, flew down here a few times, did some tours. The goal was to move here July, August timeframe to get the kids situated so they could start school.
Yeah.
I had one kid going into 6th grade and one into 2nd at the time we were moving here. And so COVID hits, the economy here went haywire. And our plan was to, even though we knew kind of the area and the schools we wanted to be, we wanted to rent first before we bought, just to make sure we liked the neighbors, the neighborhood, all that. The rental market went crazy. And there was not, like, to put an offer in on a house, you had 5 or 6 offers that same day, and a lot of them had cash, which I did not have cash for a house. So here I am, my lease is up. Movers are coming tomorrow. This is Friday night. Movers are coming on Saturday with pods to move stuff into the pods, and we were going to store them, move in with my in-laws while we're still looking for spots. Realtor calls at 10 p.m. She's like, hey guys, I know you want to rent, but if you consider buying and if you can wait till October to move down, I may have found exactly what you want. So we're like, okay. She said, I need to know the answer within 10 minutes if you want this.
Jesus.
Because there are 3 others who want it. So she sent us the rendering. This was a brand new build, right? Like, they had the model, but this house wasn't built yet. It's exactly the house. I looked at it and I'm like, I didn't even think. I said, yes, we'll take it. She's like, I had to send her cash, wire cash right away. We did that, but to hold the property, I knew that was the house. Like, I saw it. I knew it. I knew where the couches were going to go. I knew where my office was going to be. You know what I mean? Like, it was crazy. And I remember next morning, I woke up next to my wife. She's like, did we buy a house last night?
That's
I said, yeah. And that's how it happens, man. The universe will just bring to you what it is that you truly, deeply desire. Everything will be fine.
And now a question for you, because it's funny you say that, because me and Chris have both relocated in 2023. Now we're talking about Canada, Quebec here. So he moves a little bit more east. I moved a little bit more south. So both approximately 2 hours from where we were in Montreal. How is it for you to Maryland, Florida is, from what I understand, a much bigger move than just 2 hours. How is it for you to go there with a new market? Did you have your business by then? And how is it to get into a new city? And how did you build a network when you're freshly moved in?
Yeah, so we moved down. Most of my clients were still in Maryland, and I would fly up and back. And we're still in COVID, so that kind of helped, right? Florida was wide open when we moved. like kids were going to school with no masks, and in Maryland you had to wear a mask outside with 6 feet of social distancing. It was like
Sounds like
two
Canada.
different worlds, man. Yeah, it was Canada. Two different worlds. And so I just started getting to know people. Before I even came down, I joined a bunch of entrepreneurship groups on Facebook, business owners group on Facebook in this area. Started meeting people, reaching out on Facebook saying, hey, I'm going to move down. Would love to grab a coffee with you. I'll be moving down this time. Just started networking with people. As soon as I got down, we joined a country club, like a social thing to, look, you want to go where your potential clients are. Right. So where are they? Well, they're not in BNI. No offense to BNI.
Mm-hmm.
They're hanging out on golf courses. Okay, cool. Well, let's join that. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Just started connecting with people, getting on virtual coffees and calls, and that's it.
Before we keep going, I have to ask Eric. I'm a big motorcycle guy. What kind of bike do you have? I'm sorry, if I'm not, I'll be thinking about it for the rest of the podcast. So, what do you ride?
I ride a Harley V-Rod Muscle.
Very nice. The Porsche engine.
The Porsche designed the engine, yeah. And instead of a 240 tire, I got a 260 tire on the back.
So you got a mean tire in the back.
Oh, it's so beautiful. Yeah, I love that bike.
Good stuff. Good stuff. All right, now.
Well, I can't follow that. I'm not a motorcycle guy, Chris. I don't know what the.
We'll have to get you on one, man, because that's what freedom feels like, especially after a long day of work. So
you get it, Chris. What do you ride?
Harley as well. I've got a Softail Slim, a stage 2 on it. She pulls quite a bit, and I have a few other little bikes there, but that's my main one.
Yeah, but can you ride in Canada? How many months out of the year can you ride up there?
It's very limited. So very limited. If you get 4 months, you're happy. But
here you get a good 8-9 months.
No, it's worth it.
Just because there's you got some tropical. During the summer, it rains every single day for, you could still catch a ride in the morning and then later in the evening, but during the day for 2-3 hours, it'll just pour rain just randomly. But and there are no helmet laws. So if I'm going from, 15-20 minutes through the city or something, you just cruise, man.
You just cruise, and that's true freedom.
True freedom. You get it.
Talking about true freedom, okay. Zach and I, we're strong believers of, like you said, you go out and you can actually do what you want to do in this life. And we both own our business. I haven't worked for someone. Last time I worked for someone, I was 20, 22, 23, and I will never work for someone else for the rest of my life. I mean, it's one of the most liberating experiences you can have. People I report to my clients, and it's more relationships, it's family and whatnot. How do you get more people to break free from these, I call them little shackles, to be able to go out there and just live what they're meant? And I'm not saying some people are meant to be employees and they're going to have a lot of fun and success or whatnot, but I think a lot of them are just trapped in their little prison. I just want to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, and until they realize they're in a prison that they don't want to be in, you can't help anybody with anything, right? There's no way I'm going to be able to come up to a regular person who's just going through the motions 9 to 5 and watching football all weekend long and going to happy hours, right? Waiting for that Friday night, Saturday night. That's just the lifestyle they are comfortable in. You can't go up to them and introduce the idea of, start your own business or get a side hustle, or they're just not even aware of it. So it's raising their level of awareness. However, how does somebody who actually has that thought? First thing is surround yourself with those groups of people who are already doing what you want to do. Get immersed into that environment, because what you're going to realize is there are people who are way dumber than you that are way more successful just because they're taking a chance. That's how I wrote my book, man. Knucklehead, dude. I don't think I ever got anything better than a D in writing or English. I didn't even show up for classes. I never did homework. Knucklehead.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was at the John Maxwell team, I was surrounded by people who wrote books.
Yeah.
And it almost became like a no-brainer. My next step, if I want to be a credible speaker, trainer, coach, is to write a book. Where before it wasn't even in my level of awareness. Somebody said, Eric, you're going to write a book. I'm like, Yeah, right. I'm not writing a book. I don't know. I wouldn't know the first step of writing a book, And as soon as that thought came, I started going to YouTube, right? My level of awareness increased. Okay, hold on. How are they all authors? Well, maybe that it's not as hard as I think. Maybe it's possible. If regular Joe over here did it, surely I can do it. To YouTube, how do you write a book? And then you YouTube or Google something. Google is so good. They're just going to start randomly sending you stuff that you're searching for.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I literally bought like 5 books on how to write a book, how to promote a book, how to sell a book. Some guy randomly reached out to me. I don't remember his name, but this was so cool. Randomly reached out to me on LinkedIn. Hey, Eric, I'm not sure if you've ever thought about writing a book. I help entrepreneurs write books. I want to give you a free PDF as a gift to you. And he sends me this PDF, and I'm like, okay, thanks, God. He sends me this PDF, and I opened it up, and it's literally fill in the blanks outline. Put your title here, outline. What was the first chapter going to be about? And that one PDF got me that free downloadable PDF, right? That most of us delete and ignore, got me to get my thoughts out on paper. And then I used that outline to write the rest of my book.
Yeah.
So it's like, once you get that burning desire, the universe will align itself, but it has to start with a thought that with focused energy turns into a burning desire, that then you're just going to naturally take steps towards it.
It's good.
I'm curious to hear about your writing process, because you showed the notebook. You said it's ideas, but are you someone who journals on a regular basis? Are you someone who just keeps a notebook that whenever an idea pops up in your mind, you want to make sure you don't forget it? What is your writing process?
That's interesting. So this is the ideas one. I literally just got it.
Okay.
And right here it says ideas. You see that?
Yeah, I see it right there.
It's fresh.
This is the ideas one, right? So I wrote down an idea, and then here I'm like developing the idea. So here's like, I had 2 ideas the other day. I wrote them down. I took one of them and I started developing it. Well, what does it look like? And it's an idea for a corporate program to get corporations to get people into the Relentless Goal Achievers community. So that's the idea one. This is the journal, and I have probably 5 of these guys that they're full of notes.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So there's different ways to journal. One way is like a diary, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like just dear journal. That's not what I do. If we truly believe that the universe helps us create by certain laws, and the first law is really visualization, belief, thinking into it, right? Like thoughts are things. Then it's anytime I have an idea or desire, I want to write that down.
Okay.
So I do this exercise called Any Given Tuesday quite a bit. And Any Given Tuesday is, picture yourself on any given Tuesday. It's not a holiday. You're not on vacation. It's just a regular day. But you're living your dream life. What does that day look like? What are you doing that day when you woke up? And the key here is to write as if it's happening now and try to feel into it. So it might look like this. It might say, as I wake up today, I look over and I see the love of my life laying there sleeping next to me. I'm so grateful that I met the woman of my dreams and that I've had babies with her. As I get up, I walk over to my balcony and I can hear the ocean outside. I hear the waves crashing in. As I open up my balcony and step outside, I see the sun rising, and I love these huge white pillars on my balcony that are overlooking the ocean. I can smell the beach. I can hear the seagulls as I see the sun rising. Do you guys feel that? Can you
put yourself paint a picture, there? Man, because I was right there with you.
Dude, this took so much practice. It took me, when I first started this, it took me like probably 4 or 5 days of journaling to get to lunch. Like, because I would cross stuff. I'm like, no, I don't want that. No, I have a person who works in my house who's going to bring me my shake. I don't have to go make a shake. I just text her and she comes in and makes me a shake. Right. When I come down, everything's ready. And then my garage, my goodness, my garage, I got a couple Lambos. I got my V-Rod, but I also got a Street Glide. I got the BMW R1000, the M model. I got a couple Ducatis. Like, garage is tight. I got a Viper. I have an NSX. Like, I have a couple Teslas in there. Like, dude, do you know how much fun that is? See, most of us are on Facebook scrolling through everybody else's life. We don't even know what we're watching half the time. I'm guilty of it too. But if you just make a practice of imagining the life that you want and putting it on paper as if it's happening now, two things happen. One, you can't focus on anything negative when you're focusing on something great.
Well said.
You just can't. And so you're focusing your energy on this beautiful life that you want. If you feel into it, you're going to show up with gratitude. When you show up with gratitude, you can't show up with anger, jealousy, fear. You already felt yourself living this life. And your mind doesn't know what's true and what's not. And so the subconscious mind goes to work. And the subconscious mind is going to get you exactly what you desire. So if I truly believe that, I'm going to put myself in as many positions as possible to give my subconscious mind a good blueprint to go and get, right? That's why I do it.
And are you more of do you write just whenever it comes to mind? I mean, now I'm talking about like the ideas, like not the actual like journal type book. Is that something in your routine in the morning when you wake up?
It's a routine. I mean, I get up about 3:15. I come in here in my office, plug in some headphones and do a little bit of guided meditation, and then I journal. And sometimes I don't journal out my future. I don't do the any given Tuesday exercise. Sometimes it's just gratitude, right? The goal is to just focus. Like, we heard of mind over matter. I like to do mind into matter. So thinking into what it is that I want. So it might just be gratitude for everything that is. I call it rampage of gratitude. It might be planning out the day. What would just be awesome to get this week? Who do I need to be today in order for this? Who am I? Like, do you know who you are? Like, who we are being is way more important than what we are doing.
Okay. That's deep.
So let me explain this to you. So I authored a book, right?
Yeah.
Did I become an author when I started writing the book or when the book was published?
I'd say technically when it was published, but you being an author started when you started writing that book.
Yeah, because technically when it was published, because then you're a published author. But who writes books?
Authors.
Right? And so when I do my any given Tuesday exercise, fellas, the last question that you got to answer is, okay, I'm living in this mansion that's overseeing the ocean. I have all these cars. I have these businesses. I have all these clients. What do I think? How do I show up? How do I dress? What do I look like? What's my physique? What's my attitude like? And whatever those answers are, you can actually start living into those today. Like, who am I being, right? Like, if I decide, it's like you make a decision early, you manage that decision daily. So if I decide that I'm going to be the best father to my two boys, what does that look like? Now I have a North Star to kind of measure my activities by. So like the other day, I'm super exhausted. I got a 10-year-old kid who's never exhausted and always just wants to wrestle and play and have fun. He comes into my room, Daddy, can we go play a game? The easiest thing to do was like, dude, I've played with you all freaking day. Can I just get a rest? Right?
Yeah.
But knowing that I already made a decision that I'm going to be the best father for my kid, knowing that in 3-4 years, I'm not going to get these opportunities. I'm like, yeah, dude, let's go play. What do you want to play? Right?
That's huge.
So we're measuring against what we want.
How do you balance, because Chris recently had his first kid who just turned 1 years
Congrats,
old.
Chris.
Yes, sir.
On my end, it's in the near future. You know, we just got our house, we just got engaged, so it's in the plans, and I'll be fully maybe even vulnerable here. But one thing that really worries me is I have really big ambitions. Me and Chris have big ambitions. The vision for what we want to accomplish is big. What I find hard is when I hear people say that they went too hard into their ambitions and they sacrificed family life. I'm someone who's very family, and my mom has always been very on me. As soon as I talk about my big ambitions, yes, but family comes first, Zach. Always remember that. How do you balance those two?
Zach, you're suffering, dude. You're causing suffering to yourself. Suffering only happens when we remember something or anticipate something that hasn't happened yet. Suffering never happens in the present moment. So I would suggest you don't give it any energy of how it's going to be and how you're going to balance things. Just know that you will. If the fact that, look, the fact that you make a decision that family is number one, I give you, this happened last week because I have a similar mindset as you, except for I know that balance doesn't exist. Success requires focused energy towards a specific thing for a short period of time, right? So when we're focusing here, you just got to be able to communicate with your spouse that, like, hey, sweetheart, listen, I'm going to go balls out on this. It's going to be all worth it. I just want you to know that if I'm not here, if my mind's somewhere else, I just need you to back me up. Just understand I'm working really hard because I have this huge vision for our future because I love you. And if you ever feel like I'm not there for you enough, just tell me. I'll snap right out of it. But I need your support as much as possible. And if you have that communication with your wife, she'll support you if you married the right one, right? So last week, I had a potential, one of the ways I get new coaching clients, one-on-one coaching clients, is I offer a complimentary coaching session. I'm like, hey, now I don't expect anything in return, but I show up and I over-deliver so freaking well that afterwards they want to work with me one-on-one. It's 90 minutes. Like, it's not like a 15-minute coaching call. It's 90-minute breakthrough session. And my goal is to help you solve wherever you are stuck. And if you do, great. And if you don't, and you want to work with me, great. And if you don't and don't want to work with me, great. I'm just going to show up, right? And I'm going to over deliver. So I had one of these sessions, and my kid's school sent out an email saying, hey, tomorrow we're having an award ceremony and your kid was nominated. They're going to receive a leadership award. It's exactly at the time of this thing. The easy thing to do was, well, I already have the scheduled. Hey, son, I can't come. And he'd understand, right? Most parents don't come to everything. But I rescheduled the coaching session.
Yeah.
Right? Because I already knew that, hey, this is more important. And so as long as you make your decisions early and you know what's important to you, you'll be able to balance because you're going to know what the right decision to make is when the time comes. But today, the only thing you need to worry about is today.
Yeah, well, today I had the opportunity to ask someone who's been seems to be balancing it quite well, so I had to jump on it.
Dude, I'm a mess. I'm a freaking mess, man. You just do whatever it takes, right? And it's balance just means prioritizing what's most important. That's all. There's no balance. There's no balance. I got like 50 different things I got to get done. What's most important right now? And if something happens to come up with my kid, then that's most important, right? If no, then what's the next one?
I like that.
Just know what it is, what your priorities are.
Awesome. Oh, that's great.
Man, Eric, so much that you're saying, it's resonating so much. And while you were telling your story about the visualizing, and sometimes you don't know, life works in mysterious ways. I don't know if you guys see my background here. I just switched it so it's this one. So it's a picture of when I got married with my wife, okay? So we got married 2 hours away from Montreal. It's Lac Beauport. It's this beautiful place. There's a lake. There's mountains. You can go skiing. You can go hiking. And I fell in love with the place. And we told each other, you know what? One day, even though my business, I have offices, real estate here, I'm going to go move there. We didn't know this, but we own a property on the mountain now. We're looking at that. It's like, look, we look at this and our house is on the exact same mountain that was pictured 2019, and it's crazy how life works, and just so many things that you're saying. It's coming to us. And look, Zach and I, we're starting our second firm, our second company, and we're going to be helping these business owners accelerate the value of their business and exit. But one thing we want to really push on too is the personal side. Too many business owners are just focused on the business, the money, the numbers, and whatnot. But if we could send every single person, look, you just go talk to Eric, man. Just have that first coaching session, because so many people need to hear exactly what you're saying. Because it's weird to say, but I find there's a lot of business owners. They've been into it so much that they're almost like employees at the point that they lost their mindset, they lost their ways, and it's just that their own 9 to 5 in a certain way. But I just want to say, so far, man, I've been appreciating so much what you've been saying. It's been resonating a lot with Zach and I. And you see it, the way you live, the way you look too. I mean, you look like you work out. It resonates. It shows there's discipline and whatnot. So that's good.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
The word discipline is something I'd love to touch on, because I need to ask you about your morning routine. I do have a morning routine. I know Chris is big on morning routines as well. We're both early risers, but 3:15, that's a different level, man. So
that's another game.
What is the routine, and even maybe when is one habit that you recently started that's really you've seen a difference in your life?
So I've read Think and Grow Rich a bunch of times, and now I'm teaching it through the lens of entrepreneurship in our Relentless Goal Achievers group, right? So I have to read it through a lens of a teacher, and then pull out entrepreneurial lessons. And like, I've read that book probably 13, 14 times, right? Yeah. No kidding. From back to finish, 14 times. I was in a study where my mentor had me read the chapter on persistence, which is chapter 9, 14 days in a row. And if I missed a day, I'd have to go back and start over. That's huge. So, but I didn't miss a day. I just read the same chapter 14 days in a row. I think I knew it by heart by then. What I'm doing now is in chapter 2, Napoleon Hill gives you the 6 steps, right? So visualize what it is that you desire. What are you willing to give for it? By when do you want it? Write out a statement, read that statement twice a day, and feel into it. I've done it, but then I wouldn't read it twice a day. Now I'm reading that thing like 3-4 times a day, every single day, like 3 or 4 times a day for the last few weeks. And crazy things are happening. Like just this morning, I get a text from a guy who owed me $10,000 from work I did for his company years ago. COVID hit. They were in financial struggle right away. Couldn't pay me. Here we are a few years later. He's like, hey, I just want you to know we're getting some money coming in. I put in a budget to pay you. You know, I just wanted to let you know. Like, so that's really cool, right? So that's a new habit that I'm starting to do now. My morning routine has been for years. It hasn't been wake up at 3:15 for years, but last year I realized that I was not a good runner, so I signed up for a marathon. And so that was a lot of training, a lot of running every single morning. I ended up running my marathon in December.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So my morning routine, get up at 3:15. I come here, plug in headphones. I'm listening to some guided meditation between 15 and 30 minutes. Then after that, I journal. I do my GSD list, which is the get shit done list. And it's sitting right here, just writing out what I need to do today just to get it out of my head here. Yeah. Then I go, some days if I have time to read, depending on my workout, I'll read. If I don't have time to read, I'll go downstairs. I got to empty out the dishwasher. So when my wife comes down, she's all set to go. She gets the kids ready. Then I go work out. I'm either running or lifting weights, or I belong to a group called F3. I'm pretty sure there's F3 in Canada. I don't know. But if you're listening, look up f3nation.com. It's free for all men. It's open to all men. And the 3 F's stand for Fitness, Fellowship, Faith. Wow. We meet at different parking lots, start a workout at 5:15 in the morning. From 5:15 to 6, you work out, and then you either go grab coffee and just have some leadership discussions, whatever you want to talk about. Some dudes go off, have Bible study. Others just talk. So it's a really good group. So I'll do that once or twice a week. Others, I'm either running around or go to the gym, and then come home, shower, and get my day working. But that's pretty much my morning routine. I get 3 to 4 hours to myself before the world wakes up.
Mm-hmm.
And there is so much time to get your mind straight. Like if just having that time to get my mindset straight is really, really good.
And how good of a feeling is it when you start your day? I remember when I was working my 9 to 5, I had to wake up, especially during COVID. COVID really got me in the 5 a.m. wake ups, going to run. Obviously, Canada, all gyms are closed. I had found this park outside where I'd go there, put on a bunch of layers, and go work out. But the best feeling was when I journaled, I read, I worked out, and I'm opening my screen. I'm getting in this Teams meeting, and there's the rest of my team. They're about 15, and everybody's having their first coffee. They're yawning. You see, they're still in PJs, and I'm out here. I'm 3 days in. I'm fired up. And that feeling of knowing that you're ahead is a big one. And I feel like when I wake up and it's still dark out, I think the exact same thing as you. The whole world is sleeping right now. We're out here getting ahead. So
Yeah, man.
I love that.
Yeah, one thing I started doing, this was so crazy. I would run around, and as I'm running past people's houses, I'm blessing them.
No
Like,
way.
it's just so weird. I read a book, and then somebody told me this. Somebody shared this with me, and I'm like, yeah, I'll give it a try. So I'm running around. I remember it was the first day of school here, and I'm running, and I'm just like, hey, I know they have kids. I hope their kids have the most amazing day today, and hey, I'm blessed. I hope they're super successful. I hope everything's good. I hope, just like, it's so weird, man. Getting your day started on a foot of gratitude, on a foot of just sending good vibes out to the world. There's some magical about that. So hey, kudos to you, by the way, for doing that, Zach. That's amazing.
No, I appreciate it. I appreciate it. And I'm curious now because you've mentioned a few books. So other than Think and Grow Rich, what is the book you've recommended the most to people
To
close
who?
to you?
Depends to who and
And
for what reason.
okay, well, are the people who listen to us are more either people who own a business or who are just missing that extra nudge to go out there and own that business. So other than Think and Grow Rich and obviously B2B Sales Secret, what is a book that you've recommended a lot to those types of people?
People who are stuck.
People are stuck. Yeah.
Yeah, people who are stuck, I'm going to tell you, don't go read a book. Just write one.
Go
Just
right one.
sit with the idea of, why am I stuck? Because I think that's one mistake people make, is they think the answers are out, but the answers are within you. As a coach, I've seen this so many freaking times, man. If you just write out wherever you're stuck, just you and you sit there and write it out, and do not go away until you get an idea for how to solve it, for what your next step is. You don't need to solve the world. You just need to know what your next step is, right? So like, why am I stuck here? Why am I not making, I was meeting with an entrepreneur last week, and she still has a job. She's got a side hustle. So I said, hey, so what's your dream? She's like, well, my dream is definitely to go off by myself and do this side hustle. I said, all right, what needs to happen for you to be able to do that? She said, oh, I got to double my income at this side hustle, what I'm making now. And she's like really pumped telling me this. I was like, that's awesome. I said, so how much time during the day do you think about how to double your income? And it was like crickets.
Radio silence.
Radio silence. She's like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, you want to double your income. How much time are you spending thinking about how to do that?
Yeah.
See, there's no lack of information in the world. Like, you can just Google anything and it'll just pop up. But the book I probably recommend the most is Living with a Seal by Jesse Itzler.
I've never heard of that book.
Read it.
Oh man, Jesse Itzler is amazing. And he's responsible for David Goggins.
Okay.
See, that's
Yes.
what got me on the 5 a.m. runs during COVID.
Yeah.
So, okay, there's a link there. There's a bridge.
Yeah. So I've listened to both of Goggins' books during my runs as well. There's no shortage of books as I'm looking. I got so many amazing, great books, but it's not about the books. It's about the reader. If you want to laugh, like if you want to just laugh your ass off while you're learning and growing, Living with a Seal is probably the best book to read. And he never tells you it's David Goggins. You just know that this seal is Goggins. Yeah.
Okay, now I'm connecting the dots. Yeah, that's the guy who asked David Goggins who wanted to live with him for like 30 days or something. And oh my God, okay. Yeah, I got to get
Yeah,
that.
and he's a billionaire in New York, right?
The curly haired guy there.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. He's an ultra. So he's married to Sarah Blake. So first of all, he's a billionaire. He owns the Atlanta Hawks. He had Marquis Jet. I don't know if he sold it or still has it, or maybe Warren Buffett bought it. So the guy's a billionaire. And then he married Sarah Blakely, who is the founder of Spanx, all the tights that we're very grateful for. That's his wife. Together, they're awesome, man. They're like a power couple, really good energy, amazing. And Jesse is probably, if you ever get a chance to hear him speak, do it, because he's one of the best speakers I've ever heard. So inspirational. His story's great. And yeah, he's the one that was running the 100-mile race. They had to run in a circle, and he saw Goggins when he was trying to qualify for the Moab.
Mm-hmm.
And so he had to finish a 100-mile race, but he broke all. So first of all, Jesse has a team of guys. They're all hydrating and things like that. And then he sees Goggins, and all he's doing is eating crackers and drinking soda or something as a hydration as he's running these loops. I think he broke every bone in his body, in his feet, not his body. I think he broke every bone in his feet during this run on mile 70, and still finished the 100 milers. And then he almost died because he was so dehydrated. And he did it by himself. So Jesse Itzler, according to him, was like, I want to know what the hell goes through guys like that mind, and so he asked him to live with him for 30 days. I'm sure I butchered that story, but that's the gist of it.
No.
And then, here comes Goggins showing up to this billionaire's house, and he's living with him. And the stories are just insanely hilarious.
I absolutely love it. I want to shift gears and ask you a question about, because you mentioned a few times coaching, your mentors and whatnot. The first question is, I feel like people don't invest enough in themselves and seeking out and paying for these mentors, these coaches. First question is do you think a person should have a set point, like, 10% of my income should go to coaching, 5% or whatnot, or at least I should get a coach for X, Y, and Z? And two, have you in your career seeked out these coaches? I mean, you did the Maxwell course, so you've invested in that. I'm sure you've always had, or most of the time, had a significant ROI in these programs or these coachings, the coaches that you went and got. So if you could talk about that there, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, I mean, I owe all of my growth to a life coach. Her name is Julie Riesler. She's got the PhD in You, or the USU podcast, and she wrote books on PhD in You and then PhD in You in business. Anyway, randomly, I get connected to her on Facebook by a dude who we're no longer friends. But at that point, he just connects both of us out of the blue and says, you two are the most positive people I know, you should connect. Cool. So we lived nearby each other. We met up for coffee. What he didn't know was that even though on outside I looked very positive, on inside, I now know we call that a sad clown. I was a sad clown. Cool. Like, my Facebook was great. Inside, I hated my job. I didn't like where I lived. I didn't want to be where I was, but I had no idea where I wanted to be. And I was just angry and frustrated. Mix that with a little bit of PTSD and alcohol, and my life was not great. Mm-hmm. But it looked awesome on Facebook. Like, if you looked on Facebook, I mean, it was dream life.
Cool.
And so me and Julie sit down at this point. So this was probably 2014, 2015. So we sit down, probably 2014. We sat down for coffee, and I didn't even know about this concept of life coaches. She tells me what a life coach does, and I'm like, how much is it? And back then, I think she was like $600 or $800 a month. I'm like, I want to try this out.
Cool.
With her, she's the one that got me journaling. I still remember the very first time we're sitting on a call, and she's like, all right, so go get a journal. Tomorrow I want you to journal. And I'm like, I spent 8 years in the Marine Corps. I'm like, I don't know about this journaling stuff. Like, I'm not gay, like I'm just sharing with you how that was back then.
Yeah.
And I said, what do I write? Like, hey, dear diary, dear journal, what am I supposed to write here? She said, whatever's on your mind, just let it flow.
Oh.
So I literally opened up my first journal and I started writing, what's on my mind right now? Why am I writing this? Why does Julie want me to write this? This is so weird. And then before I knew it, there was like 4 pages that was filled and so much poured out. And then we said goals, like, what do you want? How much do you want your income to be? What do you want your business to look like? Where do you want? We started setting goals. And now I was getting up. And at that point, that's right around there while I was working with her, I got the idea for the book and we set a goal for the book. It was all due to a coach that got me on the right path. Before having somebody to kind of look at you from the outside, there's so many blind spots and belief systems. Like we all have our own BS, right? Belief system that we don't even know the program that's running our life. We just think that's how the world is, but it's not. That's just how we've been programmed.
Yeah.
And so since then, I've probably hired 7, 8 different coaches. I have a coach now. We have a coaching call tomorrow. And first of all, never hire a coach who doesn't have a coach. I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah.
That just shows that they don't even believe in
Agreed.
what they do.
Agreed.
So I've realized the power of a coach, of a good coach. It's not for someone. Now, I've hired coaches who have been there, done that, who just, I need them to tell me the next few steps. And I hired coaches who have not been where I was and don't intend to go there, but they're really good at helping me get unstuck.
Okay.
Right? Helping me think through the questions that they ask. So like, for example, like Chris, what'd you have for dinner last night?
It's rough because I just got off a stomach flu, so I just had soup. But it's tough. But maybe Zach would be a better answer there. But
no, before I asked you that question, were you thinking about what you had for dinner last night?
No.
Or soup? No.
No.
And that's the power of the questions.
I understand.
Right? Like to guide you. And so a good coach knows how to evoke the right answers from you. And they believe that you are God's creation. You are fully resourced with the right answers. You just haven't been asking the right questions.
I understand.
So that's the power. That's the true power of a coach.
What would be another red flag? You mentioned don't hire a coach who doesn't hire a coach. I love that. If you don't believe in what you're doing, what are you really doing? What would be another red flag? Because often people come across these people on internet and all that. Is there anything you'd kind of share with our listeners to watch out for, or ask the coach even if they get on a call with them?
I think I would always ask for a session, just a complimentary session, to see if you guys are a good fit for one another. Okay. Like, to me, red flags are coaches who have a sales team that, you know, they have somebody else selling their services. Not that there's anything really wrong with that, but in a one-on-one relationship, like, it's really intimate.
Right.
So it's either, to me, and this may just be how I view it. So these are my red flags. Like, if you don't have the time for me to sit down and get to know me, how serious are you? Right now, that's different if I'm buying your 5-step program, right? Hey, I got a 5-step program that's going to take you from this to this. And at that point, I'm looking at your YouTube, I'm looking at the content you have out, I'm looking at your reviews. And if everything checks out, I'll probably hire you. Right. But for me, spend time. If you're hiring a coach, spend time with them one-on-one. If you're considering it, make sure they're a good fit. If they're telling you what to do, probably not the best coach. If they're genuinely curious about you and they're invested in your growth, then you're going to feel it. You're going to know if there's a good vibe or not. And listen to your gut. If your gut says don't do it, don't do it.
I like that.
Yeah.
Something that lately, and me and Chris have had a lot of talks about this, that we've been trying to follow our gut a lot more. Yeah. It might sound like a random question. I don't even know if this makes sense, but any tricks on following your gut and knowing when to just go for it, or when that idea is worth writing down or actually taking action towards it?
It's always worth writing down. So if you believe what I said earlier, that ideas are energy and energy always flows from a higher source to a lower source, then you know that the only reason why you got the idea and I didn't get that idea is because you're the right person to bring it to life.
Wow.
That's deep.
And if you know that, and if you truly believe that, write it down. And then feel the energy. Like, what are you thinking about that idea? Do you want it to come to fruition? Is it in alignment with what you want? Is it in alignment with that life that you've been writing out in your Any Given Tuesday journal? And if it's not, then no, don't waste too much time on it. But if it is, and you're just scared, you don't see that for yourself, good. You're right where you're supposed to be. It's got to be a little gut wrenching. Like, oh, I'm scared. They're going to laugh at me. Everybody's going to make fun of me. I don't know. I've never done this. It's going to, am I good enough for this? Like those thoughts. Yeah. That's that little gremlin, man.
Eric, what's your relationship with failure?
Man, I'm so optimistic. Like, it's weird. I got these. You see those birds behind me?
Yeah.
You guys, do you guys follow the DISC model or know anything about DISC? DISC. It's like a behavioral assessment, personality assessment. So, can I show you really quick?
Please, course, yes.
So, I'm going to teach you the DISC model really quick here.
Okay.
All right. So the idea is that there's 4 different personality styles, and this goes back centuries. Like before, they would say, earth, wind, fire, and something. Earth, wind, fire, water. Yeah. So there's always been 4. Some people use colors: red, green, blue, yellow. Some people, whatever. It's always 4 different personality styles. So this is based on DISC and its personality style assessments, and these are your behavior types, right? So number 1 is your eagle. Eagle is dominant, very decisive. They make decisions very quickly. And if you think of a real live eagle, what happens? They kind of fly, above everybody else. They're by themselves. They don't have a bunch of different eagles around them. And when an eagle sees prey, they laser focus in on it, let out a loud screech like, hey, I'm going to go for this one. Everybody get the hell out of my way. The eagle doesn't call a board and ask for permission. They just freaking dive in, snatch up what they want, and they're out. Mm-hmm. Eagles are so crazy. You see videos of them trying to pick up babies. Yeah. You know what I mean? Eagles. That's one behavioral style. Then you have parrots. And if you think of a real life, these are your influencing style. If you think of real life parrots, they're party birds, right? They're flock birds. They're always together. They're making a lot of noise. You're going to hear a bunch of parrots before you see them. These are the guys, when you go to happy hour, they're buying shots for everybody, and they're super outgoing and fun, right? They're wearing colorful shirts and ties. They're your parrots. That's a parrot. Parrots are super optimistic too. Like, what can possibly go wrong, right? I'm just going to do this. What can possibly go wrong? I'm saying that because I'm a mixture of these two.
Okay.
I'm a big, high eagle parrot. The dove, that's your supportive style. The doves, if you think about, they want security. They don't like a lot of change. And if you think about a real live dove, they're kind of very quiet. They let out a cooing sound. If they see some food, like, oh, hey, everybody, come. I found some food. They're the bird of peace, right? The international bird of peace. They're not confrontational. That's your doves. And then the owl, what do you think of when you think of an owl?
Me, it's wisdom.
Wisdom, right? Well, all of them can be wise, right? It's not just the owls that are wise, but the owl is your conscientious style. They're very detail oriented. And if you think of a real live owl, they can see the smallest mouse in pitch black. When an owl flies, you don't even hear their wings. They can turn their head almost 360 degrees. They don't miss anything. Super detail oriented. They're your perfectionist. These guys, if you're looking at the graph, it's like these guys are on this side, the other two are on the other side. So these are your process-oriented types of personalities. Okay. The eagle wants it done now. The owl wants it done right. These are your people-oriented personalities. This one just wants to always have a good time. This one wants to make sure everybody else is having a good time, right? So those are the 4 different personality styles. When you asked me, how do you think about failure? It's like, it's only failure if I quit at that point.
Amen. Thank you.
Right? Like how is it? It can't be failure in any other way.
Yeah.
So I went through all this to tell you, one, naturally, I'm super optimistic. What could possibly go wrong? There is no failure. We're just going to continue to go on. And if I quit, that's still I didn't fail because I found something better to do, and I'm going to go do that.
Exactly. I love it.
I love that answer because, I mean, naturally, more and more now people coming up to me and Chris with their ideas, with the thing that they would love to do, their side hustle or whatever. And often the answer that we give them is, well, first of all, until you try it, all you're going to do is be talking about, maybe I should, whatever. But if you wait 5 years, 5 years from now, you're going to be asking yourself that same question. If you do it now, well, you'll have your answer. And either you'll fail and find different ways where it'll actually work, or you'll fail and realize that it's not for you. But I love what you said about it's not a failure until you decide to quit, because until you're still trying, well, how could you say that I failed?
Mm-hmm.
So
Napoleon Hill calls it temporary defeat.
I like that.
Instead of failure.
Defeat.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah. Agreed.
Awesome. Well, listen, I got one last one for you, Eric, and it's maybe more on the personal side, but you talked about how you kind of almost manifested this house that you have, and you have it right now, the motorcycle rides and all that. But what about that garage, that big garage where it's stacked, it's fitted?
Yeah.
What do you need to do, or what's the vision for you to get there, to get to that garage before we wrap it up?
Yeah. So that was like, there wasn't focused energy on that, right? Like maybe I just didn't believe that it's possible for me, right? Because we're talking multi-millions of dollars in the garage alone. Maybe it's my own self-limiting beliefs at that point. And so because I didn't believe it, like we all heard of, if you believed you could make the shot, you would take the shot, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so belief drives our behavior. So what I'm doing now is writing about that garage and focusing, and I'm actually looking at the interior of these cars and how they look and pricing them out and things like that. But they won't fit in this house, so I'm going to need a different house, right? And it's all about focused energy, man. It starts off as a little wish, and then our job is to take that and transmute that wish into a burning desire that, oh my God, yeah, I could definitely see this happening for me. So what that's going to require is focusing on it, journaling about it, thinking about it nonstop, reading that statement out loud a bunch of times per day, having that as kind of my gold standard, and then working towards all of that. If I'm being 100% honest with you, that's like a nice to have. My dream really is to open up a building in the inner city here where I have a couple of podcast studios that people can rent out, where I have a YouTube studio that people can rent out. I have a classroom that can sit 200. And in there, I'm providing trainings for organizations. I'm renting it out to entrepreneurs who want to start podcasting and YouTube channels. But I'm also giving free classes to inner city teenagers on entrepreneurship and things like that. So that's the real dream. That's what I want to do. Like, that's how you set people free. The Lambos and all that. Yeah, that's really, it's awesome. But, I mean, it's a freaking car at the end of the day.
Eric, we'll make sure that we're there. We'd like to film a podcast in your studio at some point. We'll fly down to Florida and meet in person. That'd be perfect.
That's what I'm talking about, Chris.
I love it.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
you guys are going to rock it, man.
Eric, man, thank you so much. I mean, we just me and Chris alone, if this was just a phone call, we got so much value, and I'm excited.
I felt like this was a coaching session, man.
I feel for real. Yeah, this was appreciate.
I'm hyped up. Let's go.
Coaching session.
I love you guys, man. Thank you.
It's good.
It was great, and I really appreciate your heart posture. What you're doing, I could see that it's something that's intrinsic that you want to do. You really want to have an impact, and when you talk about people, helping them live truly and fully, it's something that you could feel it when you talk about it. You're passionate about it. I do want to look more into the disc because I feel like I relate to the eagle and the parrot a bit, but I think that sometimes I need more owl in me. So I liked how you put that. I'll give you the floor to end. If there's anything, where can we find you? Where could people reach you if they're interested in a coaching session? I'm assuming that even though we're in Canada, people could reach out to you virtually. I'll leave the floor to you.
Well, I got clients in Canada. I got clients in Romania. Jamaica. Like we got people everywhere around the U.S. You can find me anywhere. Connect with me: LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. Either the Goal Guide, like guide you to your goals, or Relentless Goal Achievers. I got a really awesome group, by the way, guys. I would highly recommend you consider it because it's we're building it for entrepreneurs.
Nice.
It gives you an environment to be around growth minded individuals. I made it super affordable where it's only $97 a month. And the way I structure it is there are 2 calls every week where people can hop on and I coach them in a group setting. And then there's 1 call a week where it's like teaching. And right now we're doing a book study on Think and Grow Rich through the lens of entrepreneurship. Then we're going to have guest speakers coming in. We got networking events, things like that. But it's just really a coach in a box for $97 a month.
I love
The
it.
goal is to get people from that point to where they can pay tens of thousands of dollars for the one-on-one coaching, where I can really take them to that next level.
That's it.
Awesome. Chris, any final words?
Well, we're gonna have some discussions, Zach. I think we'll have to sign up for something. So we'll keep.
I'd love to have you.
Well, thank you very much again, Eric. Our listeners are gonna have a lot of value, and I'm gonna make sure people listen to this one. So thank you so much.
Hey,
yes,
you
I'm
rock.
gonna make sure
Thanks,
to
guys.
add all your links in the description. So thank you so much, Eric. Everybody tuning in. I hope you guys got as much value as we did talking to Eric. Follow, share, comment if there's anybody you wish would come on the podcast or any questions you would have for Eric. But we do recommend you reach out. He's very easy to talk to. So on that, thank you so much, everybody. Have a great rest of your day. Take care.
Take
Bye-bye.
care, everyone.
Bye, everybody. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.